Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Baker Senior Show, bringing you healthcare peace of mind. My name is Marian LaSalle, and today we are talking with Steve Baker about Medicare, his story. This story is quite unique in that not only does he help people with their Medicare, but he's also on Medicare, so he can give us the scoop, the real scoop. So, Steve, I understand that you have had a little, uh, a little story to tell
hmm
about an ambulance ride.
hmm
Tell us all about it.
Yeah, the thing about it is, I, I wanted to tell about an ambulance ride, and the unique thing to me about this ambulance ride was I was inside the
Ah,
ambulance, and of course, you see ambulances all the time, up and down and whatever, around wrecks and all that sort of stuff. But I got to see everything from inside the ambulance.
I
So
imagine that that is a unique opportunity to see things from a different perspective, being on
yeah,
the inside instead of watching them come up behind you and try to get out of the way.
uh-huh,
You're actually inside the ambulance. So
yes,
what
especially
happened?
well. Especially, I was going to say about being in an ambulance. It's kind of nice when you're conscious and you know what's going on and everything. So that's what happened. So the story is that I have a backyard, and somehow my neighbor's trash got over. The wind was just blowing like crazy, and my neighbor's trash got over in my yard, and so I was just determined I was going to pick it up. And I had a fleece on, and it was heat. The weather was heating up, so, and I had to pull out my water to drink, but I didn't drink any water, so I went out and I grabbed my trash bag, and I went out and I picked up and I picked up and I picked up trash, and the wind was blowing it all over the yard and everything. So I just spent out, I went over to there and over to there and so forth. I don't know how long I was out there, but all of a sudden I had a weakened state, and my legs sort of started to give away. So I headed for the back door, and I didn't make it. Got up on the patio, and boom, my legs just collapsed under me, and I hit face down on the concrete. And the concrete was harder than my head. I found out, but I had a big hit a big gash right across here, right across a big deep gash right there. So my wife had heard me call her, and so she came running out, and she saw the blood, and I didn't realize this. I've never been in first aid that much since Boy Scouts, and so I didn't really realize that head wounds like that bleed profusely, really unbelievably so, right in the forehead area. And so my wife
She thought you were
ran.
dying. She thought, "Oh
Yeah,
my God, you're going to bleed to death."
exactly.
I bet she was freaking out.
Yeah, she was freaking out, and there was a trail of blood on the patio all the way out to the yard. It's just flowing and flowing. I don't know how much I lost, but I would imagine it was quite a bit. Not a pint or anything like that, but it was a lot of blood flowing out. So she ran in, got a towel, and she decided she was going to call an ambulance. And I said that would be a good idea because I had no idea what the situation was, and I don't know how long it was before they came, but it wasn't long, and so they came in the back, round to the back, and the thing about it was that they were very good and very professional, and they were asking me lots of questions, and they, how they do, they move your arms, move your legs, is everything okay, can you see, open your eyes, and that sort of stuff.
Follow
And
my
so,
finger.
yes, follow my finger and all that.
Yeah, with a head injury, I'm sure that they're very aware that you could be having blood inside,
Hmm.
causing all kinds of problems. So yeah,
Right,
they're checking you out quick.
right, yeah, they're checking me out quick. So I had feeling in all my extremities, and so they, they knew I was going to be fine, except this cut was really, really, really deep, and it was just like, I don't know if I guess there's a bone there called the forehead bone. I call it the forehead bone or whatever,
Yeah, yeah, I feel a
but it
bone.
was it was down to the bone, and it was just,
Oh,
it was really, really, according to what they said, it wasn't gross to me, but to them it was it was kind of deep.
I bet.
So anyway, they somehow got the blood stopped and everything, and so they said we need to go to the emergency room for sure. So I was fine with that. So they loaded me in the ambulance, got me on a stretcher, and loaded me in the ambulance and took me to the hospital. And my wife and my son had to follow in a car. So as I say, as I told you, they weren't even allowed in the emergency room because this pandemic thing was just starting.
Oh,
It was probably,
yeah.
we were probably 3 or 4 days into it or something like that. And so, there were a lot of masks. People had masks on and all of the stuff. So they took me into one of the emergency rooms, one of the cubicles there, and started working on me and looking at it and so forth. And I didn't really realize. I thought maybe they could just sew it up and then I could get up and walk out. But they didn't. They were concerned about any kind of spinal injury and something like that. So I hadn't even thought about that. But so they wanted me to go to the X-ray. First, they took some X-rays, and then they decided to do a CAT scan. And then the neurosurgeon who was looking at the reports saw a little problem there in they call it T6. It's a vertebrae that's right here in the neck. And so they said, well, what we better do is we better do an MRI in addition to what we've just done. They brought me back into the emergency room, and so just suffice it to say that I had a lot of procedures to do. And I knew that I had Medicare, and I had my supplement, and I had met my deductible. Medicare with a supplement has a small deductible that is a Medicare Part B deductible. 2020, it's $198, and I had seen my my cardiologist for a regular exam about 2 weeks before that. And so I paid my $198, so I knew that was taken care of. So,
Well, let me stop you right there for a second, Steve, because in my mind, as you're telling me this story, the ticker is clicking, clicking, clicking. Every test that they do, it's going to cost more and more money. And you're thinking, why do you have to do that test? Because that's just going to cost more money. And no, right? I mean, that would be your typical response, especially if you're a senior on a fixed income and you don't really understand Medicare, or you haven't, you don't really know, because what you're trying to tell us is you had peace of mind because you knew, due to experience, that a lot of this was going to be covered. But I think most people that don't have your experience would be freaking out every time you get MRI and an X-ray and this test and that test. It's just adding up. That's enough to cause so much stress that you could cause more medical problems.
Exactly. But I'm a professional in Medicare, so I knew exactly where I was with it, and I knew I didn't have I had zero expense, because I knew zero expense.
So you kept your stress level down.
Yeah, I kept my stress level down. So I asked the guy after they brought me in after my MRI. I said, "Can we have another test?" Just it's because every time they wheel you out on the stretcher, and you have to go down the hall and down this, that blah blah, whatever. And if you've never had an MRI, that's quite an experience, because it's a loud noise. For some reason they have to do that, and they give you a little ball that's attached to a line, and they said if you can't stand it, because it's right there. I mean, it's not, you don't have but about 3 or 4 inches of leeway. So the best thing to do is just close your eyes and not worry about that part.
Yes,
So,
I would. I'd be
but they
closing
said
my
if
eyes.
if you have a real problem, or if you have a lot of fear, or you just want out of this thing, just squeeze that ball and we'll stop it, and then we'll go from there. So which I thought was kind of interesting. And so anyway, I got through the whole thing with a lot of loud noises and clanking, and you'd never heard such noise in all your life for an
Did they give you
MRI.
earplugs or anything? I always wondered about that.
Yes, well, they did on this ear, but over here, that was all. This one was all. I mean, over here it was all bandaged. Every bit of it was bandaged. So so they couldn't give me an earplug for this side at all. So so anyway, they finished, and they said, well, we'll have the reports in about 30 minutes, which I thought was amazing that they could do it that quickly and stuff.
Yes, yes.
Right. So anyway, they came in, and so then they gave me even more, more tests about my arms and my legs and so forth, and did I had feelings in all of them and that sort of thing. Very, very professional. They knew exactly what to do and what questions to ask and so forth in the emergency room. So then, between the CAT scan and the MRI, a neurosurgeon had came by and explained to me that they saw a little thing in there. They just wanted to check it out to make sure that I was okay and everything. So I was in there probably 3 or 4 hours,
Getting all your tests.
getting all of my tests and so forth. But the story is how the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I wanted to tie it in with Medicare. And generally, I've used it before, and not, but of course not in the hospital actually, and not in in any kind of emergency room or anything like that. I've never been in a wreck or whatever. But I knew that everything would be taken care of, and I added up the bills later. What I thought it would be. I looked on Google and kind of see what those would be and so forth, and I estimate it's probably somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000 that I would have to pay just out of pocket if I hadn't had Medicare and the supplement that I have.
Isn't that interesting that you, a Medicare professional, can look back on it to be able to demonstrate to people who are looking at Medicare and say, this is the experience that I had. This is how much it would have cost me had I chosen the wrong Medicare supplement, had I not been educated on what happens if you have an accident. I'm so grateful. Not that you had this problem, Steve. I don't wish that on anybody. Okay.
Sure.
But I do think that it's very interesting that you're able to now give them an example of this is what it would cost if you chose this, because we don't know, and we never know what's really going to happen to us, if anything. But just in case, you have an experience, a real life experience that happened recently that you can show people. I like that you have that experience, and you can help people decide what kind of Medicare they're going to be needing.
Right. Yeah, I have a personal experience that I can explain to my potential clients and so forth.
That's right.
So, and it was of course my wife was horrified, and my son, because they're standing outside and people are all around, and my wife saw the various people coming into the emergency room. This lady had chest pains, but because of the pandemic, the COVID-19, they would not allow her husband to come in the emergency room, so he had to stand outside as well with his wife inside with chest pain. So you can imagine he didn't have what you call peace of mind at all.
No, he didn't.
So
Neither did his wife.
My wife was telling me about this story. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the emergency room, and I was amazed. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of talking, and it's not a good atmosphere to go to sleep. It's not. A lot of people running in the room, out of the room, so forth.
So you were admitted after you had all your tests done. You were admitted into the hospital.
No, actually not. Actually not.
Okay. All right. So they did all the tests to make sure that you didn't need to stay in the hospital. Well, that's
exactly.
good. Okay, good. Yeah. Now, Steve, I know this was early on the pandemic, 3 or 4 days in. Did they put a mask on you?
No, they did not.
But
why,
they had masks.
They all had masks.
Yeah, I think that they've learned now that everybody needs to have a mask on.
I think so.
If you go outside, you probably should have a mask on right now,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I started to wear my mask this morning on this show, but I decided not to.
Yeah.
But now if I go up to the store or whatever, wherever I go outside my door, so does my wife.
Me too. It's a shame that we have to do that, but right now we need to make sure that we have peace of mind with our health, right? Not just our Medicare, but our health. So
right.
Okay, so how are you going to be able to use this to help other people decide what kind of Medicare they need?
Well, I can explain the various products, and depending on what their circumstances are, I can make a recommendation. But I can tell them my experience with one area of Medicare, and then I can also relate what they would go through, or what they would be faced with if they had another choice with Medicare. There's basically two kinds of Medicare, as I've explained many times before. So I can use that as an example and tell them, that if you take this one, you're going to have this result. If you take this one, you're going to expect a different result. But it's in either case, it's not going to be a tragedy.
What I really like about having someone like you help us through the Medicare maze is that depending on our situation, because everybody's situation is just a little different. Sometimes it's a lot different. So when I referred a client to you that had a totally different scenario than the general public, you were able to search through all the different products and services and doctors and find the best case scenario for her. So this particular lady needed someone to come visit her. Well, the healthcare system that she was on at the time, you had to go to them. So that didn't work. And so you were able to research and figure out exactly what would help her and then switch her Medicare. So I'm not sure that everybody knows that you can switch once you choose something. Can you tell us a little bit about, is that possible for everybody, or do you have to have certain circumstances in order to switch your Medicare?
Yeah, well, you've got to have certain circumstances, and also, your date of birth and your age plays into it as well. And once you do make a decision, you've got about 12 months to decide if you want to really keep it, or move to another kind of plan. So, and I school people on that and tell them that we'll try this and see how it works for you, and just be sure and let me know if you have any complications or any issues whatsoever, and we'll address it and see what we can do about it. there's certain dates you can do things, and you've got to have it within a certain period of time. And there's something that's called the annual enrollment period, and that's at the end of the year. And you want to make sure that you're in that period of time. And you also want to if you're turning 65 in that area, that's one area. And if if you have waited a while, then that's another, and we can find out where someone is, and really I can just point them in the right direction.
I know we've talked about this before, but for those people that are watching this show today for the first time, I want you to know that you're going to get phone calls, postcards, emails, people knocking on your door, maybe trying to get you to go with them. Okay. And it may be confusing. It may be they make it sound like if you don't talk to them that something horrible is going to happen. I want you to know that I'm 62 years old and I'm already getting Medicare information.
Right.
So what they're trying to do on the other side is they're trying to get my phone number from me. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's required. Do you see that word right there?
Yes.
It's required. So I looked at this. Thank God I knew Steve, and I could say to myself, well, I'm just going to show Steve this because he'll know what I'm supposed to do. And Steve, tell us a little bit about why they start so early and why are they telling us that it's required. They're making it sound like it's required to put my phone number on here.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, that's required thing is a rather strong term, and they want to make sure that they have the right phone number so they can call it again and again and again and again.
Oh, so it's a marketing ploy.
Sure, that's what it is. It's a a very competitive industry that I'm in, and the phone calls, not only just in Medicare or healthcare, the phone calls just come all day long for all kinds of different things, for home insurance, for auto insurance, from all of the different things that that you face every day, and you never know what it's going to be, because I can identify them real fast, and most of the time I just don't answer the phone, just let it ring. And that's my advice for anyone approaching the age 65 is just let it ring. There's some legislation that people are figuring out, and it has to be done on a state by state basis. And in one state, which is Ohio, it's absolutely forbidden. They cannot call for any reason whatsoever. No cold calls whatsoever. It's against the law. And hopefully many of the other states will pick up on that as well.
I would hope so, because I don't want to be sold, especially when they're making it seem like if I don't do this, something bad's going to happen to me. It just doesn't seem right, but I realize that that's their sales tactic. That is not how Steve Baker handles his clients. I can tell you, because not only is he a friend of mine, but also I have given him referrals to other people, and I see how he treats them. He treats them and their family with care. So if you know someone that you would like to refer to Steve, he can help them, guide them through this system. If they don't feel that the Medicare they're on right now is serving their needs, all you have to do is call, and it's right there on the screen right now. We have Steve's phone number. So it's Steve Baker, 832-754-3292. And Steve will let you know exactly what type of information that you're going to need. So Steve, if someone were to call you to talk about either their parents, their neighbor, or themselves, what's the process they go through?
Well, the phone call is important, and I prefer an incoming phone call. By that I mean I prefer people to call me rather than me solicit them and call them, do an
Right.
outbound phone. So I can ask, a few questions and kind of see where they are and so forth, and make some recommendations. And nowadays, with the COVID-19 is going on, you definitely don't want to go into someone's home. You don't want to go out and see them, which I've done that for years and years. I go out to see their home. But now with technology like it is, I mean, it's not necessary.
That's right. You can do FaceTime or a software called Zoom, and you can actually be in the same room with them.
Hmm.
Through modern technology, you can actually see them and talk to them and answer all their questions right through the computer
Hmm.
or their phone.
Right.
Hmm.
And then, and sometimes and I don't press people about it. But if they insist, if they want to do it and go ahead with it, I can actually do it right there on either on the phone or on Zoom or any of the platforms. Actually do it, and if you've signed up for anything like that, if you've signed up for any insurance like car insurance or anything like that, what's always required?
A
A
signature.
a signature. So now I have a process that's not necessary to have an actual physical signature. They do a signature, but I'm able to do it, and I'm not going to tell you what it is because people will know then. But I can actually ask them just one simple question, and they're signed up.
Very
I'm
good.
like,
So you not only give them peace of mind about what Medicare they're going to do, but the
uh,
process to handle it. Because anytime you're signing up for something, it can be traumatic. There's so many personal questions, and there's so
uh-huh,
many, and
definitely.
who are you talking to? Where are they going to share this information? What I like about dealing with you is that everything is private. You're taking good care of their information, and you're making sure that they're on the right plan for them.
Hmm.
And I
Exactly.
know from experience, because I am the manager of the lady that I gave you the referral for, and I know that you go the extra mile. You were trying to help me figure out, everything, all my questions. You went above and beyond. So I really appreciate that. The family really appreciates that. And of course, the senior that I was helping, she is the benefit of all of your expertise and your peace of mind healthcare help. Thank you,
Hmm.
Steve.
You're welcome. Glad to help.
Hmm.
Glad to
Is
help.
there anything else that we need to know today about your story and about how you can help someone with Medicare?
No, everything's fine. I'm all healed up, and so there's a bump right there. So all the bruises are gone. I will say one thing that's amazing. Cell phones nowadays, you pick it up, and the phone itself will recognize you. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I came home and I picked up my phone to make a phone call, and my phone said not. I didn't. My phone wouldn't recognize me.
You were so beaten up, the
I
phone
was
didn't
so
recognize you. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad.
exactly. So I had to find out what my code was to get into my phone.
Oh, dear.
It was about a week and a half or 2 weeks before it would recognize me.
Wow. Wow. We don't recognize the beat up, Steve. Oh, that's amazing.
Right.
Well, thank you for being with us today, Steve. All of your information is so critical to our healthcare peace of mind, and we do appreciate you. I'm going to put your phone number up on the screen one more time. Please call Steve with any questions about Medicare for yourself, for your neighbors, for your parents, anybody who you think needs his help. Just call 832-754-3292, and Steve will take good care of you. Thank you, and we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.
Bye.